And at this time, I would like to introduce our speaker. Joining us today is Jeff Morris, Vice President of Product Marketing at Actuate. Jeff has worked in the application development and business intelligence space for more than 20 years in a variety of product marketing and product management roles. Now for opening remarks and introductions, I'm happy to turn the program over to Mr. Jeff Morris. Please go ahead.
Thanks very much. Welcome, everyone, to our event today. I think this is a very exciting event for Actuate as it continues to both develop and enhance and foster our relationship with an organization called YASH. And YASH, in terms of the relationship between Actuate and ourselves, is both a consulting organization as well as a software development organization. And what they have done is they continue to invest their expertise in the integration between BIRT, the visualization technology available from both Eclipse as open source as well as Actuate as commercial products. YASH has been connecting the BIRT reporting and business intelligence environment with the variety of different interfaces to SAP. So what we're going to talk about today is the latest in their innovations, which includes the delivery of the SAP ECC connector, which is SAP R3 direct connection. It's developed by YASH themselves. It connects the difficult to manage, oftentimes, SAP environment to a really easy to use and really enjoyable business intelligence and visualization environment. So one of the great things is this gives us platform independence, simplified connectivity, access to SAP data, not only to via the business warehouse, but also through the BAPIs directly. And it's localizable in a number of different languages, and of course you gain the benefits and visualization of BIRT. So rather than enjoy my waxing about this particular capability, what we've asked is that YASH themselves come and discuss the integration, the challenges to the integration, etc., and then give us a demonstration of their latest innovations. So Satish Pulla is available with me, and he's going to go through the remainder of the event. Satish has got more than a decade and a half of experience and has been working on Actuate products, not only the BIRT environment, but earlier products over the last 10 years directly. He's been working on projects not only in North America, but also throughout Asia, and is currently a product manager at YASH in India. So with that, I would love to turn the event over to Satish to continue. Satish, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeff, for the wonderful introductions. Good morning, everybody. So we all know that the organizations that implement SAP have a lot of advantages on their side. They have an excellent project management, very good architecture established, and they have all the processes automized, and so on. But still, they have some pressures from the market over few areas in their organizations, like they may not be able to integrate their data with heterogeneous data sources like external data sources. They need to look into the big data initiatives, integrating their applications with external reporting applications and so on. So we took all these limitations. We considered all these limitations, and we decided to take up this as a challenge, and then we started creating the SAP connectors for BIRT. So we identified that this solution will require real-world experience on SAP implementations, real-world BI implementation experience, in addition to the SAP experiences, and strong extensible platform, which is provided by BIRT framework. So we brought all these things into place, and we then started creating the SAP connectors for BIRT. So what SAP Connector for BIRT is, it provides an excellent GUI, a simple to use GUI to create SAP queries, SAP BW queries or SAP ECC queries within the BIRT environment. So it provides access to the metadata from the SAP, and then the developers can create queries within BIRT. So the benefits, as Jeff mentioned earlier, is the platform independence, connectivity simplified, and all these things. So the challenges that any organization which has SAP implemented in their organizations are broadly the data is not easily extendable outside of SAP environment. If they want to integrate some data from SAP with some other data from any other databases, they don't have that capability provided within their environment. So this is possible by using BIRT in addition with the BIRT SAP connector. So normally the volume of data that is available with SAP is very huge. So the connector that is in place should be capable of handling large volume of data. And most of the time the business processes are encapsulated and the developers may not be knowing the business process underlying the cubes or whatever. And it normally requires highly skilled resources to create the queries in SAP. So the need for a connector, there is no native connectivity available in BIRT for SAP BW or SAP ECC systems. And although there are some alternative methods that are available for connecting from BIRT to SAP BW or SAP ECC, there is no GUI available. Like we need to write a lot of code, we need to customize a lot of methods and so on, but there is no GUI in place. So having a GUI, a connector with a GUI makes life a lot easier. So how does this whole connector setup will help an organization? So it will allow you to access data from SAP BW. It will allow you to access data from SAP non-SAP systems, and then you can combine the data based on the conditions or joins, whatever, and then you can create reports in BIRT Report Designer. And you can make these reports available to the various functional groups in the organization. It can be finance, it can be production planning, it can be material management, anything, any of the functional departments. So how do we access data using a connector? The connector provides direct access to data from SAP cubes and BAPIs that are available in the SAP system. So developer can never make it out that they are using a third-party connector because it integrates seamlessly with the BIRT environment. And the GUI interface that is provided by the connectors will help the developers to create complex queries very easily within a span of 5 to 10 minutes. Then the features of the salient features of SAP connectors for BIRT, the look and feel that is provided by the connector is very similar to the designer tool. So we can never make it out that they are using a third-party tool. It allows you to create, access, and customize the queries using graphical user interface. So once the query is created, the developer can always go back and modify the query or can create more queries if required. It provides features like slicing, filtering, sorting, which is order by, and cross joins within MDX and so on. It provides functionality to handle the parameters that are available, that are defined on the SAP BW cubes. It supports localization. So one connector can be used in any locale, and the labels are displayed in the local format. Here is a slide which explains the high-level architecture of the connector. We have the connector integrated with SAP Actuate BIRT. Then the user creates a data set by entering the login credentials. Then they create a data source. Then they create the query, which I am going to show you shortly. And this query can be used in building a report, BIRT report, and this can be published onto iServer or iHub and can be made available to various functional groups in the organization. So let me quickly show you a short demo on how to use the BIRT, the connector, SAP connector for BIRT. So I have a new report created with me already. So the first step in creating a report which uses data from SAP ECC system will be to create a data source. So I'm creating a new data source, and in the list of data sources available, we have two connectors that are provided by SAP BW data source and SAP R3 data source. So I select SAP R3 data source, which is also called as SAP ECC data source. Then I need to enter the credentials for connecting to SAP server. So it's and the username for connecting, the password for this particular user, the client ID. These details will be available with the administrator normally. So once entering all the information, you can test the connection. If all the details entered are valid, the ping will be succeeded. Click Finish to save the data source. The next step is to create a data set. So click on New Data Set and select the data source that we created earlier in the list of data sources available here. Click Next, and it will load the query builder, which is provided by the connector. So this is the query builder, which will show the list of BAPIs that are available in the SAP system per the user ID that we entered while creating the data source. So you can scroll through all the BAPIs, and if you don't know or if you cannot locate the BAPI, you can always go to a search tab and you can type in the function name or the group name and can click on Start Search. It will locate the BAPI and it will display in the list there. So let me select a BAPI from the list here. So the right side of the query designer will display the details of the selected BAPI as per the metadata that is defined in the SAP system. So it displays the parameters that are defined in the BAPI, the input parameters, the output parameters as indicated by the icons here. And if it is a mandatory parameter, it displays an exclamatory mark in red, and it displays the description of the parameter. You can also view the documentation that is created by the SAP BAPI developer, which will explain you about any particular parameter. If you want to know the functionality of a parameter, whatever. Then select this BAPI into the dataset query component. Check this checkbox to select this BAPI into the query. Then click on the Details tab, which will display the details of the parameters that are returned by the BAPI. So here the parameters are categorized by the functionality, like the import parameter, the export parameter, and the import or export parameters. So SAP BAPIs can contain 3 types of parameters as indicated here. And normally we use export parameter as a data set. So select the export parameter that is required for you to be used in the query. And then it displays the list of columns that are defined in the export parameter. The description of the column, the data type of the column, and equivalent actuate data type, the length of the field, and the reference number or the technical number that is defined in the BAPI. So you should check the checkbox here, use this export table as a primary result set, which will indicate BIRT to use the columns that are defined in this export parameter as a result set. So once you select the required export table or export parameter, click Finish, and that will create that will create the data set or the result set based on the columns that are available in the export parameter. So it supports all the functionalities that is provided by BIRT framework, like creating computed columns. You can create parameters, or you can map the input parameter to a report parameter. You can create a filter. Let me show you how to create a filter. Select the field on which you want to create a filter, then select the criteria, and you can enter a value. For example, I want to get all the items that are greater than or equal to 1000. So you can enter the criteria there, then you can select the settings if you want to modify anything. So once you do all the required modifications, click on preview results. So that will actually execute the query in SAP ECC system and will get back the result set and will show the first 500 rows based on the settings. So this is the sample data or the sample result set that is returned by the query. Click OK to save the data set. So this will end the process of creating a query. So normally after creating the query, we go back to the report design and we start creating the report. So let me just drag and drop the data set. So that will create a table. And to preview the report, click on View Report in web browser. So that will execute the report based on the layout that you create, and will get back the data, and you can create more complex report types, like you can group the data, you can make a crosstab out of this data, you can display the data in form of a chart or whatever, depending on the requirement that you have. So this is how we get all the data from the SAP ECC system with very minimal effort of creating a query. So that is how we create queries in SAP ECC system. So going back to the presentation, the benefits of using SAP connector for BIRT are the primary benefit is platform independent. It is available for Windows as well as Linux. Connectivity is simplified, like as shown in the demo earlier. It's very simplified connectivity, and there is no configuration to be done on the side of BIRT or on the side of SAP systems, because this once you install the connector using a setup program that configures itself in the BIRT environment, and there is absolutely zero configuration to be done on the SAP side. The familiar look and feel, as you have seen, the look and feel is very similar to BIRT. So the functionality is also very similar to what is provided by BIRT. So the developers can adapt very easily to the functionality of the connector. As you have seen in the demo, we can view select table or structure parameters. It can be either export parameter or an import parameter. And another major benefit of the connector is access privileges controlled by the SAP system stay in place. Like any access control that is created in the SAP system will be in place even while using the SAP connector. It supports localization, we have been talking about that. Seamless integration. As I explained you earlier, once you install or once you set up the connector by executing a setup program, the connector configures itself very quickly on the BIRT environment. And there is absolutely zero configuration to be done on the SAP side as well as on BIRT side. You just install the connector, and it's when the next time when you open a BIRT report designer, the connector is available in the list of data sets. And the data that is displayed is real time, because the query will be executed when you run the report, and data can be previewed within the data source query builder. the system requirements that are required for the connector to work are the processor should be at least Pentium 1 GHz and the RAM should be at least 512 MB. The operating systems, it works for Windows XP or above, it works for Red Hat Linux and it works for SUSE Linux. And the software requirements we have is it works for Activate BIRT Report Designer Professional 11 or above, or also it works for Eclipse BIRT Report Designer version 2.6.3 or above. And the connector is also available for Activate ISO 11 and BIRT iHub 12, BIRT iHub 2 or above. So some idea on licensing and the support model that we follow. The licensing is available for in two ways. One is the server license and one is the user license. So server license based on the number of servers that you have and user license based on the number of report designers that you have. So you need to buy number of licenses as many as the number of developers that you want to use. In the support model, we work very closely with Activate technical support. So you can either approach, either raise any tickets through Activate support, or you can even directly contact Ash help desk. And for more information on SAP ECC connector or SAP BW connector, you can visit the URLs provided here, www.ash.com/activate. And we also do provide a trial version. So if you are interested in evaluating the connector before making a decision of buying it or not, you can request a trial version, and we are more than happy to provide you a trial version which will be working for 30 days. So you can try the connector for 30 days, and then if you are happy with the performance of the connector, you can decide to go for a full version. And the trial version that we provide is fully functional for 30 days. So for any further information that you would like to know regarding the SAP connector for ECC or SAP connector for BW, please drop a mail to info@ash.com, or you can even visit us at www.ash.com/activate. That's all I have. Jeff, do we have any questions?
That's fabulous, Satish. So far, I'll give a couple more minutes for a couple more questions to come in. The first question I want to ask is there any difference in terms of implementation between implementing using the Eclipse open source versus the Actuate commercial products?
Absolutely no difference in the way how we implement for Activate BIRT or Eclipse BIRT, Jeff. Because we do provide two different setup programs for Activate BIRT and Eclipse BIRT. So if you are using Activate BIRT, you install Activate BIRT connector, and if you are using Eclipse BIRT, you install Eclipse BIRT connector. The major and only difference between both of them is the license. We have different license for Eclipse BIRT and a different license for Activate BIRT. So the license that you buy for Eclipse BIRT will not work for Activate BIRT and vice versa.
I see. Okay, very good. And I guess in terms of, can you give us any sense of the different types of customers, maybe what kinds of projects they're using with this?
Well, any customer who is interested in making more meaningful use of their SAP data, SAP BW or SAP ECC data, using with the help of BIRT environment, and due to the limitation of lacking the BIRT connectivity, can use this connector. So as I discussed in one of the slides, the data from SAP BW or SAP ECC systems can be integrated or can be made use with any other external data sources like Oracle or SQL Server or text files or Excel files or anything. Because BIRT supports all connectivity to all other databases, and we do provide connectivity to SAP. So by making use of both the connectivity, they can make better use of SAP data.
Right, right. And can you give us a sense for maybe perhaps some of the competitive advantages that versus some of the other either visualization or BI tools that are out there? Are there elements to this that are extremely unusual or extremely differentiating for the YASH ODA?
Okay. The major difference between any other connectivity, any other connectors and YASH ODA connector is, if you look at the SAP BW connector for BIRT, we do represent the data in the form of hierarchies, whereas in other connectors the hierarchy is flattened.
They flatten them out, right? So you maintain the hierarchies that are built into BW or built into the environment themselves.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And also we do provide support for handling the parameters and linking those parameters with the report parameters and all these things, whereas other connectors lack this functionality.
Excellent. And long ago we noticed that when we were able to query these sources directly, and I guess the way I want to cast my question for you is, do you notice any performance improvements with just the general running of SAP when it doesn't need to be processing so aggressively or so strongly all of its internal query and reporting mechanisms?
Well, Jeff, these connectors, the SAP connector for BIRT, SAP BW connector for BIRT makes use of web services. Mm-hmm. So, web services, as we all know, is an efficient way of accessing data from SAP BW system. So, we make very efficient use of this web services, and you can...
Right. So you offload the processing exercise from SAP, and rather we take it over. So perhaps we're operating with BIRT and the YASH ODA connected on a separate instance or a separate machine. All the query exercise and query resource is offloaded from SAP. Therefore, SAP might appear to be a little bit more responsive. That's actually really good.
Exactly.
Well, it looks like that covers our questions for today. And remember, everyone, that this is the second iteration of a SAP Data Connector built jointly between YASH and Actuate. So we've been working at this for a little over a year now, and introduced not only the Business Warehouse connector that was earlier, but now also have the R3 or ECC connector. So I want to thank Satish and the YASH organization once again for their continued support of the BIRT environment and continued support of that in conjunction with the SAP environment. I look forward to working with you guys again, and look forward to talking to some of the customers who might be on board or watching this webinar. That if you've got any interest, please contact us.
So pleasure, Jeff, and we always look ahead to work with you.
Absolutely. So thanks again, Satish, and for that, thanks for your attendance, everyone, and that will conclude our event for today.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
And again, everyone, this does conclude today's Integrate SAP ECC Data with BIRT, hosted by Actuate. Thank you again, everyone, for attending, and have a wonderful day.